because I didn't know I was pregnant.
Hey guys, welcome back. If you guys are new here, my name is Renee and this is the Fam Cam. Before I get into this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to become part of the Cam Fam. Also, don't forget to comment down below, especially if you guys have had a similar experience, because it is just so comforting to hear that other people out there have had similar experiences just like you. But as you guys know from the title of this video, I miscarried again. I hate that word. I really hate the M word. I feel like just even saying that word is just a huge jinx. I completely feel like this miscarriage was my fault, even though I know it's not. And the doctor said it wasn't, but you know, I really honestly believe it's my fault. Let me start from the beginning. Beginning of the month, I went to the gynecologist, you know, just to talk over a few things, let her know that, you know, I'm trying to get pregnant, you know, my periods have been coming back. Sorry if you're a guy watching this, this is way TMI. My periods came back not too long ago after having Ella. It did take a long time for them to come back because I was breastfeeding, and that usually like throws off your hormones and prevents your period from coming back and prevents you from ovulating. I did go for a checkup at the gynecologist, and you know, she did the whole fun pap smear and all of that good stuff. The pap smear did come back as I had vaginosis. Yummy. You got the yummy. It's just like increased growth of bacteria in the vajayjay. It's very simple to clear up, just Flagyl twice a day. I was taking the 500 milligrams for 7 days. I think the correct word is metronidazole, something that I took. I'll write it here. This is what I took. It's just another word for Flagyl. I held off on taking that Flagyl for a whole week. I always research things before I take them, and I asked the pharmacist before I take things, and they told me that, you know, you're not supposed to be taking this while you're breastfeeding. And my doctor knew, who prescribed it to me, that I was breastfeeding. I don't know why she'd prescribe something that I couldn't take while I was breastfeeding. So the pharmacist said I couldn't take it. And I called the doctor, and the doctor said that, you know, it's fine. Just go ahead, take it. You're only on it for a short amount of time. If you were to continue the Flagyl for a long amount of time, then that would be an issue with breastfeeding, but it's only for 7 days, and you're only taking the 500 milligrams twice a day. You're not even taking it 3 times a day. And I did take a pregnancy test while I was at the gynecologist appointment, and it came back negative. I should have taken my own at home, but I didn't feel pregnant. The test came back negative, so you know, you read the test, it says negative, it means you're negative. I take the Flagyl for a whole week. 2 days after I'm done taking the Flagyl, I start spotting. And I'm like, why am I spotting? You know, oh, maybe I'm ovulating. And at this point, I haven't gotten my period since November. So it's been 2 months. So in my head, I'm like, there's no way I'm pregnant. The doctor's office did say, you are late on your period, so you could be pregnant. So let's take a pregnancy test. And we took the pregnancy test and it was negative. So, you know, you read the test and it says negative, and you're pretty sure it's negative. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I've been taking tests at home since I missed my period, and they've all come back negative. I take the Flagyl for a whole week. 2 days after I stopped this Flagyl, I started spotting. And at this point, I haven't gotten my period for 2 months. So I'm thinking in the back of my head, you know, I'm either ovulating or I'm getting my period. So just for, you know, poops and giggles, I go to the bathroom and I was just gonna take an ovulation test. I'm like, oh, you know, I haven't taken one in a long time. Let me just take one just to be safe, because it could also be implantation spotting. It's also really late at night when I was taking these tests. So I take the tests and surprise, surprise, the pregnancy test comes up positive.
I just can't believe it.
It's a very, very faint positive, and it took a long time to come up, but immediately, you know, I grabbed the camera and I stood there for a little bit and I just stared at the test in like disbelief, because all these pregnancy tests came back negative. I'm 2 months past when I was supposed to get my period, and you know, it's like, why am I pregnant right now?
Oh my God, I'm pregnant. And I just went to the gynecologist and took a pregnancy test there, and they said it was negative as well. But the only reason why I even took a test was because I had implantation bleeding. I didn't know it was that. I'm a little worried because I was spotting, so I am calling the doctor first thing tomorrow. When I went to the gynecologist, she told me I had bacterial vaginosis or something like that, and I needed to take this antibiotic to get rid of it. So I was taking that for a week. I felt super sick on the medication. I did not feel good on the medication. It was making me nauseous, making my head hurt, making me dizzy. But you know, they're all side effects of the medication. I'm a little worried that that medication might have messed something up. And I feel like that's why I'm not super excited, but I'm also really sad because I didn't know I was pregnant. And what if it did hurt the baby? That's why I'm really sad, is because I was taking this medication. I mean, it was only Flagyl. I don't want to think that way.
So I was really shocked. When we moved into this house, we decided that, you know, we wanted to straighten up the place. We wanted to paint and do everything before we started to have another kid. So we were going to put it off, so I was just really surprised that I was pregnant. Immediately the next day, I called the doctor and I said, hey, you know, I'm pregnant. Extremely high risk. I need to come in and get checked out. I have miscarried in the past.
I went to 4 ultrasounds and none of them showed anything.
This is my second miscarriage, unfortunately.
It's just such a sad topic because we wanted it so bad.
I did have a blighted ovum. That's just when the baby doesn't form and it's just an empty sac.
Had the sac, just no baby.
Having another miscarriage, it's like, oh, it's never gonna happen again. It's really like devastating for it to happen again. And it really scares you to get pregnant again. So in the back of my mind, that's like all I'm thinking about if we're trying to have another, because we are trying to have another baby, and that's all I'm thinking about is like, oh, what if? It's really scary. As soon as I got the positive pregnancy test, I called the doctors the next morning. I took another pregnancy test that morning. It came back positive.
Last night, I got 2 positive pregnancy tests. You're supposed to take your pregnancy tests in the morning because your HCG count is higher. So I'm gonna take it right now and see what it says. It wasn't exactly faint last night, so I'm pretty sure I am pregnant. But just to be safe, I'm gonna take it again. I got the positive pregnancy tests last night, but I'm still super nervous taking this pregnancy test. Mariana still doesn't know. I was thinking about it all night. I'm just thinking, oh my God, I'm pregnant. There it is. Came through.
It's official. I'm pregnant. For some reason though, it seems like the line is fainter than it was last night. I feel like it was darker last night. I don't know why that would be, but it's clear as day. There's 2 lines. Let me get the test from last night. That's just really weird how it was darker last night. The top 2 are from last night and the bottom one is from this morning, which should have been darker this morning, so I am very worried. It was a little fainter than the one I had the night before, which was a little surprising because it should have been darker. They say that the HCG is always higher in the urine in the morning, so it should have been darker, but it wasn't, so I was a little surprised. But I was like, you know what, I'm just probably really early. So I called my doctor and I tried to get in right away. I told him, you know, I didn't really care what doctor I had. As long as I got in there, I was able to get the test done to confirm that I was pregnant and get blood work done and an ultrasound. Especially since I was spotting. That's huge red flags when I'm spotting. I sit down with this nurse practitioner. Immediately, when she says when she comes in is, I didn't know you were spotting. I'm not experienced enough to give you a diagnosis for a spotting patient. So she like didn't even want to look at me to begin with. And I had both the kids with me.
Here we go again.
My doctors.
Are the doctors with mommy? You're eating candy.
It was just not a good time. And at this point, Mariano didn't know I was pregnant yet because I didn't tell him. I'm laying on this table and she's looking around and she looks very confused. And she's like, oh, did you know you had an inverted uterus? And I'm like, yeah, I know, yeah. Get on with it, get on with it. And she's just looking around confused, like she couldn't find anything. And I'm like, oh, is everything all right? And she's like, here, let me show you what I have. And she points to the screen. She's like, here, this is what I see. I'm identifying this line as your uterus. And right now it looks like a not pregnant uterus. I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, I'm very concerned because if you're not pregnant in your uterus, where is the pregnancy? She's like, I'm not experienced enough to identify a pregnancy in your tubes, but I'll try. So she starts looking around, and then the nurse comes in and starts talking to Ella, and immediately Ella starts bawling her eyes out because she doesn't like strangers. So I had to pick Ella up. It was just not good. So I'm like, do you guys want to give me a pregnancy test just to confirm? Because at this point, I'm thinking to myself, they think I'm crazy. They think I didn't get a positive pregnancy test. They think I'm lying. I pee in a cup. And they give me the pregnancy test and it comes back negative on their end. And I'm like, I just took 2 pregnancy tests at home and they both came back positive. I'm pretty sure you're not gonna have 2 false positives. So they're like, yeah, well, you know, since it's negative, we were gonna send you to another doctor, but now we're not. Meanwhile, they have me going all over the place. To one doctor's office, she's like, oh, I immediately want you to see a doctor because this is very urgent. You're spotting, you need to see a doctor, especially if this is an ectopic pregnancy. So I put the kids in the car. I start going over to the other office that they scheduled me an appointment with, and they call me on the phone and they're like, oh, never mind. We want you to go next door. So can you come back? And I'm like, okay. So I go in there and I'm sitting in the waiting room, and they're like, oh, we're trying to get you in with one of the doctors next door. So I'm just sitting there, you know, with 2 kids. At this point, you know, I call Mariano. Mariano, can you come help me out? So Mariano leaves work. At this point, you know, it's really serious. I'm spotting, you know, I could have a ruptured tube. I wasn't really in any pain, slight cramping, but, you know, not really any pain. And they were talking about sending me to the emergency room, but, you know, I wasn't in any pain. Long story short, the nurse practitioner calls me back in and she's like, here, we're just gonna send you out for some blood work and we're just gonna monitor your HCG levels. And I'm like, great, I made Mariano leave work just so you can monitor my HCG levels. Thank you for telling me you want to send me to doctors and just wind up not sending me to doctors. Here I am, not knowing where this pregnancy is. I go right next door to the hospital and I do the HCG and it comes back right away. My HCG level came back as 40. At this point, I'm like, you know, I don't want to see this doctor anymore. She first comes in, says she doesn't want to look at me because I'm spotting, and then she says she's not experienced enough to identify something in my tubes. So I really didn't want to deal with her anymore. I wasn't being mean. I'm not being mean because I immediately know all you like, oh, you're being so mean. No, I wasn't being mean, and I didn't say a mean word to her. Just me talking to Mariano in general. I kept telling Mariano, you know, I don't want to deal with the nurse practitioners anymore. At this point, I want to deal with only doctors. They wanted me to wait a few days to go back to see if it would go up or to go down. If it goes up, you know, it could have just been that I was really early and they couldn't see anything in the uterus yet, because technically you can't see anything in the uterus until 1,000 HCG levels. Or it goes down, which means I am miscarrying. At this point in my back of my head, you know I'm miscarrying. Mariano's like, no, you're not miscarrying. You're just really early. Watch. We're gonna have another baby. Watch. The weekend comes. Sunday, we were supposed to have Julie and Ella's birthday party. Right before Mariano's family is about to leave to come here, I just start bleeding. Everyone told me, all my research, everything, the minute you start bleeding, the minute anything changes, you start cramping, bleeding, anything, go to the emergency room. So I told Mariano, I'm like, Mariano, I'm so sorry, but I think I have to go to the emergency room. My mom winds up coming to watch the girls and I go to the emergency room. They take me in right away. You know, it was really good there. They do a pregnancy test there as well, which theirs started to come back negative. And I'm like, are you sure? I just took more pregnancy tests at home while I was waiting and they all still came back positive. And they're like, yeah, it's negative. I'm like, can I see? So they show me the test and I'm like, look, there's a line. I'm pregnant. There's a line. It's showing me a line. And they're like, oh yeah, look at that. It is very faint pregnant. And she calls in another nurse. She's like, is that pregnant? And she's like, yeah, that's pregnant. And I'm like, she's like, oh, well, the test is positive. I'm like, thank you. I'm not crazy. Thank you. Because at this point, Mariano's like, you know what? Give me one of those pregnancy tests. I'm going to go pee on them and see if they come back positive, because at this point, you have faulty pregnancy tests. No, they weren't faulty. And we do the ultrasound, and the ultrasound technician says that my uterus is not inverted anymore and that it kind of flip-flops, especially after you have babies. So I had a normal uterus then. One day I have an inverted uterus and the next day I don't. I don't know how that works. The doctor comes in and she's like, well, you don't have anything in your tubes and you don't have anything in your uterus. Our right fallopian tube is a lot thicker than your left, which I don't know why she wouldn't say that was a little concerning. I have no health issues that would have caused me to have an ectopic pregnancy. I haven't smoked really since 2016. Like, that was a long time ago. They said that wouldn't have affected anything. Well, the only thing I could possibly think of is that medication I took. The doctor said that I could have miscarried from my uterus and that's why they don't see anything there, or I am dissolving the ectopic pregnancy that's in my fallopian tubes. The hospital ran my HCG and it went down to 20. They know I am miscarrying. They know that the HCG is going down, so whatever's there stopped growing. They believe that I was dissolving the ectopic pregnancy and that it was just gonna just go away, which I didn't know that could happen. I didn't know your body could just dissolve an ectopic pregnancy. They send me home, wait a few days, go back for another HCG. She says, oh, okay, so now your HCG is, I think it was like 10, something along those lines. She's like, okay, so your HCG is this. So wherever the pregnancy was, it is going, your HCG levels are going down. So that's extremely good. If they don't hit 0, we do have to give you a shot of, it's a chemo drug. Again, I don't know what it's called, I will put it here, but it's a shot of chemo drug. Depending on how far along you are in the pregnancy, you would need 1 or 2 shots. So I would have probably only needed 1. And what that shot does is it just dissolves any fast growing mass, which basically is a pregnancy. You know, it's a cells rapidly producing into a baby. As of this point, I didn't need that. I told the doctor, I said, well, how does this affect me getting pregnant again? How do I know that it's not gonna happen again? And how do I know that there's still not something in my tube? We don't know where the pregnancy was, basically. We have no idea where it was. Whatever was in your tubes, we believe your body's just dissolving it. She's like, that's good. She's like, that's what we want. We want it to be dissolved. We want it to go away. We want your HCG to drop back to 0. And I'm fine with you trying again to get pregnant the minute your HCG drops 0. So she sent me back to HCG a few times. And at this point, I went once, my HCG was 2, and they made me go back again, and it was below 2. So tests were coming back negative, and I was at a not pregnant level. So you know we're good to try again. So whatever was in me is fully, hopefully is fully out, and I have no other issues. I told the doctor, I said, how do I know? I said, could this have been caused from the medication that you gave me? And I'm pretty sure she's not gonna be like, yeah, you know, I'm pretty sure that's why you got pregnant. All the tests were coming back negative. So how were we supposed to know that I was pregnant? How was I supposed to know I was pregnant before I started taking this medication? They were coming back negative. How was I supposed to know? So I must have gotten pregnant while taking the medication. I honestly, I don't even know. I would have never known that I was pregnant if I didn't take that test when I started spotting, because it was just like normal period. Just a tad heavier than normal period. I miscarried in the past, and you know, I miscarried on my own at home, and it was extremely, extremely painful. It was like having a little baby. It was extremely painful. It was nothing like that. It just felt like a normal period, so I would have never known if I didn't take that test that I was pregnant. But now the issue arises where if I do get pregnant again, I have to go to the doctors immediately after finding out I'm pregnant. I am at risk for another ectopic pregnancy. I am at risk for another miscarriage. I am high risk. No bueno. If you guys don't believe me, here are my positive tests. Multiple positive pregnancy tests. I even took one the other day, and it scared me a little bit because it still showed up very faint positive. So it does scare me a little bit that my HCG isn't completely at 0. But the doctor confirmed that, you know, we're good to try again, and I don't have to wait for my period to come back, but I think I am. I think I am gonna wait a little bit to try again. The one thing she did recommend while we were trying again is for me to take prenatal pills. So I've been taking my prenatal pills since finding out I had the ectopic pregnancy. I'm making this video because the minute she told me I had an ectopic pregnancy, where did I turn to? I turned to Google and YouTube for some answers, for some other experiences that other people might have had. The doctor wasn't gonna say yes, that it was because of the medication that I took. So she said, you know, how are we supposed to know? You tell a pregnant person, here, we wanna experiment on you with medication, but you might miscarry. Who's gonna say, oh, of course, yeah, give me that medication. Yeah, come on, bring it on. No one's gonna do that. So how are you supposed to know that a person's gonna miscarry by taking a medication? How do you know that they weren't gonna miscarry if they didn't take that medication? You don't know. She said that she prescribes it to pregnant women as well, and she's never had an issue in the past, so she really doubts that that was why. But she said it is very possible. So I honestly think that that might be where the issue came into play. I don't know. Pray for me, guys. Pray for me that I am able to have another healthy baby. But good news is I have 2 gorgeous, beautiful girls that are healthy. So the chances of me having another healthy pregnancy are extremely high. I will have to be on the McKenna injections again, which was so fun to get stabbed in my arm every Wednesday. Mariano really enjoyed stabbing me in my arms. That is my story, guys. That is the recent events that have been happening. What are you doing? Well, you have Play-Doh all stuck in your pants? Oh, that's good, good, good. Mommy loves doing laundry. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.